It has to be one of the most frustrating feelings in the world. You study for hours, you feel like you know the material inside and out, but then, in the exam, you make a mistake on something you absolutely knew. Well, today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens. Right? You walk out of the exam, the pressure's finally off, and then this exact thought just hits you like a ton of bricks. It's that moment of disbelief when you realize an answer you knew for sure just didn't make it onto the paper.
And that's what makes it so confusing, isn't it? You put in the work, you went through all the material, you felt confident, you understood the chapter, you did everything you were supposed to do.
But then, you're sitting in the exam hall, and something just shifts. Your mind goes completely blank on a key definition, or you make a silly little math error, or you totally misread a super straightforward question. It feels like your own brain is betraying you.
Look, this isn't about you not being smart enough or not studying hard enough, not at all. This is a cognitive puzzle. So let's dive into the science of what is actually going on up there during those high-pressure moments.
To really get this, let's break it down into 3 distinct hurdles your brain has to clear during an exam. And once you see them, I promise why these mistakes happen will start to make a whole lot more sense.
Yep, 3 main cognitive reasons. They have to do with how you study, the huge impact of stress, and the mental juggling act of the exam itself. Let's tackle the first one, which might just be the most important. Okay, this right here is so crucial. When you're studying by just rereading your notes or looking at flashcards, you're mostly practicing recognition. You see the information and your brain just goes, oh yeah, I know this, familiar. But exams, they demand recall, which is the much harder skill of pulling that information out of your memory from scratch, with no clues. And this analogy just nails it. Recognizing a face in a crowd is almost automatic, right? But trying to remember a 10-digit phone number cold, that takes a completely different mental muscle. If you only train for recognition by rereading, you're basically preparing for the wrong event.
All right, on to hurdle number 2, stress. Now, a little bit of pressure can actually help you focus, that's true. But when an exam triggers your brain's deep-seated survival system, it floods you with stress hormones that can literally act like a wall, blocking your access to the very memories you need.
I love this way of thinking about it. Imagine your memory is a perfectly organized library. When you're calm, you can walk right in and find the book you need. But when anxiety kicks in, it's like the lights start flickering, a loud alarm starts blaring, and the librarian is running around in a panic. The information is still there on the shelf, but all that chaos makes it almost impossible to find.
And finally, the third hurdle is cognitive overload. Your brain isn't just focused on answering one question. Oh no. It's doing all of this at the same time, trying to understand the question, keeping an eye on the clock, remembering the exam rules, worrying about what this means for your grade, and maybe even glancing over at how fast the person next to you is writing. That's an incredible amount of mental juggling. And when your working memory gets overloaded, it starts to drop things. And that's when those simple mistakes creep in.
Okay, so that's the problem. We get it now. But just understanding it isn't enough, right? Let's move on to a really powerful practical strategy you can use to start training your brain for what an exam actually demands.
It's called the close recall check method, and it is beautifully simple. After you study a topic, you physically close your book. Then, on a totally blank piece of paper, you write down or sketch out everything you can possibly remember about it. Only after you've pulled everything out of your own brain do you open the book back up to check what you got right and fill in the gap.
And here is the absolute key to why this works so well. Every single time you do this, you are actively practicing the skill of recall. You're building and strengthening the neural pathways you need to retrieve information without any hints or cues, which is precisely what an exam forces you to do. So while active recall helps you build those stronger memories, you still need to manage that stress on exam day. For that, here's a super quick tip for hurdle number 2. Right before you even pick up your pen, just pause. Take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. This simple action can help calm your nervous system, turn down that blaring alarm in your mental library, and give you much better access to everything you've stored in there.
Now, what's really fascinating is that this entire process, this whole challenge of thinking clearly under pressure, goes so far beyond the classroom.
Seriously, think about it. Have you ever been introducing someone and their name just, poof, vanishes from your mind? Or you stand up to give a presentation and suddenly forget your very first line? Or maybe you've missed a super easy shot in a sport just because the pressure was on? That is the exact same brain process at work. And this reveals a pretty profound truth. High-stakes situations are never just tests of what you know. They are tests of your ability to manage your emotions and access what you know when it matters most. It's knowledge plus emotional regulation.
And this brings us to a really, really important mindset shift. When you make a mistake on an exam, it is so easy to see it as a personal failing. But it is not a reflection of your intelligence or your work ethic. And it definitely doesn't mean you're just bad at exams.
You know, more often than not, it's just a signal. It's a sign that your brain's systems were temporarily overwhelmed, either by stress or cognitive load, or that mismatch between how you studied and how you were tested. It's just a data point. It's not a judgment on you.
I really want this one to sink in. An exam is a snapshot. It measures your performance on a specific set of tasks in a very specific environment on one specific day. It cannot and it does not measure your full intelligence, your potential, or your value as a person.
So, here's the final thought I really want to leave you with. Let go of the goal of being perfect. Instead, make it your goal to get to know your own mind. Understand its quirks, its strengths, and what it needs from you under pressure. Because when you start working with your brain instead of against it, you unlock a much more powerful and honestly a much more compassionate way to learn and to perform.